bladed tool safety. At Stanley Black & Decker, it really is safety always. And to support our culture of safety, we have developed a few key safe behaviors, or KSBs. These are minimum acceptable standards for every employee designed to reduce the risk of injury. When properly implemented, these standards increase safety awareness and promote safe behaviors for not only our employees, but visitors and contractors too. KSBs support the more detailed procedures and standards that exist at our sites, such as lockout-tagout, confined space, machine guarding, and PPE levels in any given area. KSBs are minimum acceptable standards, and every employee must adhere to them. Failure to do so puts you and your colleagues at risk, and may be subject to disciplinary action. This lesson is focused on bladed tool safety. Employees in virtually every role touch some sort of bladed hand tool every day, from paper cutters to utility knives to metal shears. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, nearly 20% of workplace injuries involve cuts and lacerations to the hands or fingers. In fact, at one of our own Stanley Black & Decker plants, bladed hand tools cause almost half of the first aid and recordable injuries over the past 5 years. Hand injuries can be severe and are second only to back strains and sprains as cause for lost workdays. Injuries can frequently result in hospital visits, requiring stitches or surgery, and can permanently affect hand or finger mobility. But these types of incidents can be avoided by selecting the proper cutting tool for your cutting task and wearing appropriate cut-resistant personal protective equipment. You can protect yourself from these painful injuries. Bladed tool safety begins with proper tool selection. When preparing for a task, always select the tool that presents the least amount of risk. Tools where the blade is retractable or not exposed, or lower-risk cutters, such as scissors, shears, diagonal cutting pliers, or snips are the best options. Cutting tools must only be used to perform tasks for which they were designed and should not be used beyond the design capacity intended by the manufacturer. Refer to the approved bladed hand tools chart to determine the required PPE. Approved cutting tools and the required personal protective equipment, or PPE, are provided by your supervisor, manager, or EHS associate. As always, notify your supervisor if you do not have the proper PPE. Never use a cutting tool without wearing the required PPE. If it is determined that an approved bladed hand tool cannot be used to perform a required task, the employee and their supervisor must complete a bladed hand tool permit. The permit must be approved by your supervisor and the EHS manager according to the bladed hand tool permit procedure before the use of a prohibited controlled tool is authorized. Prior to using any cutting tool, inspect the tool prior to each use and properly discard knives or blades in blade disposal containers to prevent the risk of blade injuries to waste handlers. Always wear cut-resistant gloves when changing tool blades. Use only a sharp blade. A dull blade requires more force and is more likely to slip than a sharp one. Auto-retracting and spring-loaded safety knives shall be fitted with a round-point utility blade. Select a proper cutting surface and use clamps, a vise, or other workpiece holder instead of your hands to hold the workpiece. Always cut in the direction that is away from your body. Always refer to the approved bladed hand tools chart prior to using a cutting tool. Selecting the proper cutting tool and wearing the appropriate PPE will help minimize the risk of getting hurt. As always, if you believe a task is unsafe or that you are not properly trained to complete a task safely, please stop and notify your supervisors or EHS manager immediately. It takes the entire team to ensure our culture of safety. Safety always.